Thanks, Gregor. Afternoon, Paul. What can you tell us about Adam Lowry and how his potential return will what it will mean for the rest of your lines?
So he got through it today in a blue sweater. So he was good, felt strong, moved right. If he feels good tomorrow, then we'll consider him a player. Put some lines back together that we've had in the past. Lowry between Kopp and Appleton, and Scheif between Kyle Connor and Blake Wheeler. So we'll sort the rest of them.
I'll go next to Scott Billick from the Winnipeg Sun. Go ahead, Scott.
Thanks, Gregor, and good morning, Paul. I'm interested to know your thoughts on, so when a team's winning, momentum can help kind of keep that good feeling going. When a team's losing, how does the lack of momentum play a part in the losses continuing to pile up?
One of the real tells you'll find is that you're slowing down when you touch the puck, right? So the guys don't want to make a mistake, man. They want to do the right thing every time. So and there's a kind of a freedom that you lose in your game, that quickness that you lose because so your pucks are moving slower, then you're behind it. So now you look like a slow team. One of our strengths is we skate well. And you're seeing that now. I think we're a little slow moving the puck. They're working hard. Like, it was good today. We went out and got back to fast. We were humping and moving and had some energy. So I think, Scott, you got to manufacture it, right? When it's not going for you, you can't just sit there and wait for it to happen. You got to do some small things to get you faster. So that was the focus of being on the ice today, get back to fast. We went fast. And then as soon as you start moving on the ice, the guys start talking a little bit, right? And then they're having a little bit of fun and working at the same time. But the next thing you know, you see the hands start loosening up, guys start making plays. And that's kind of the, where do you start when you're slow, when the tension that's in your room and the wanting to win so bad that you actually hurt your chances. Good comes back to speed for our team, and we got back to it today.
We'll go next to Sarah Lesky from TSN. Go ahead, Sarah.
Paul, will you make any changes on your blue line going into tomorrow's game?
Yeah, well, we're going to look at some health issues, Sarah. I'll have an answer for you on that tomorrow. We'll see what we've got coming to the rink tomorrow.
Go next to Jeff Hamilton from the Winnipeg Free Press. Go ahead, Jeff.
Hey, Paul, I was just looking over Connor Hellebuyck's numbers. He's got the most starts in the NHL, most saves in the NHL, most shots against in the NHL. And I'm just kind of curious, just given kind of his play over the last little while, and I know it's not indicative of just him, it's the whole team, but how do you feel about his workload so far this year? And what's the plan leading into the playoffs here with 6 games?
Yeah, so rhythm for him. If you talk to Connor Hellebuyck, he will tell you this is all about rhythm. And he has a certain number of games that he likes to get into. So when he missed a couple of periods here in this last week where I think he thought he was going to run 5 straight, which was what his idea was. So we've sat down, pull the calendar out and go, what do you think you need? LB is going to go tomorrow because that was our plan all along. He'll get that. And then we'll just go from, give him a chance to, so that's 2 days basically without a game. We get to 4 days without a game. Then you start to get to that threshold where he gets a little antsy, he wants to get back in the net. But we have 2 plans, right? LB goes tomorrow. And then we've talked about the idea of him possibly doing it again, depending on where Connor feels he's at. Like, this is a guy that he will tell you, like, he does not like getting out of the net too much. Clearly he's a workhorse, but it's all mental for him. He's physically strong every day. He likes to practice, doesn't like morning skates. He wants to be in the net at game time. So this is about a conversation that has happened daily and will continue to, with the idea of getting him in the right rhythm to feel good.
We'll go next to Kelly Moore from 680 CJOB. Go ahead, Kelly.
Thank you, Gregor. Good afternoon, Paul. Would you describe yourself as a stubborn man? And I ask this with the context of trying to stick with the same lineups, trying to stick with the same systems, and see your way through this. So, would you be stubborn or patient?
Well, I don't really like ketchup on my hot dog. So I would say I'm stubborn in that it's going to be mustard and onions pretty much. Maybe you want to throw a pickle on there, will be good. If you look at the style of game this team has played, believe it or not, it's been a pretty drastic change over 4 or 5 years. And we've changed an awful lot in style of play over the last 3 or 4 years. I would say that in terms of lineup changes and lines, sometimes you're reaching for something better and you lose what you have, what good you have. And it's just a matter of most adjustments in all of hockey are back to form. They're not a complete change away from what you're doing. You're not doing what you think you are. You're away from your form. So those adjustments are kind of reinforcing the past. I would think that I've got some core beliefs I think you have to have as a coach, and through experience, you'll learn that there are certain things that have to happen in a game, but I would not consider myself a stubborn man unless we're talking about hot dogs.
Go next to Murat Atesh from The Athletic. Go ahead, Murat.
Just going back to the lines that you mentioned, the Kopp, Lowry, Appleton, and Connor Wheeler. These are some tried and true ones for you. You've used them before. I'm wondering if returning to them now is a function of where you guys are at in terms of the losses, or if this was something you were building towards throughout the year, because you'd sort of teased that you had things that you were building towards.
Yeah, I mean, if everybody's healthy, we're getting close to this, right? So part of it is Pierre-Luc comes in, you're moving him in from center to the wing around to get some combinations. I felt over time, at times, that the Connor Wheeler had gotten a little bit stagnant and needed a break, needed a change. Mark has to play with a certain skill level. It's just a fact. He needs enough skill on both wings to use the skill that he has. I know what Kopp and Lowry and Abel can do for style of game. You'll see Stastny and Dubois and Perreault play together. Will make a decision on Harkins and Vesalainen to go with Thompson and Lewis. So obviously they scored 2, so we're pretty happy with where they're at the last game. So at the end of the day, you can move some pieces around by performance. If a guy's really going, you can move Nick Ehlers up with Mark and Casey. It'll work for a few games. He's not an option for us, but there's some truths to people that have played well together and a comfort level, right? They get out, they kind of, you guys don't get to see practice, but you put them back together and you go, yeah, now you can see why they function so well with each other when they're on, because they were moving today. So kind of give guys some comfort here. We've to get them back. You go through your stretches and these where you're growly and you're barking and benching and pulling people, and you're trying to get the agitation level up, and then you're going to get to a point where you need to settle things back down. I think we're at that point.
I'll go next to John Madish from The Score. Go ahead, John.
Hey, Paul, I had a question about the power play, kind of similar to what Scott asked earlier about getting back in the groove. So struggles of a late, but overall over the season, really strong power play numbers.
Yeah.
What do you got to do tactically, like X's and O's wise, to get back to form? Like what really is clicking when you guys are scoring?
So we moved it around again today, our units again today. So we got up, we were sitting running third for a while in the NHL, and then it got a little slow and stagnant. And that's almost the recipe for all of them, right? So you have things that are working and you're working at a certain pace, and then it falls off, and now you just slow down. It's all about the rate of puck movement to open up 6 inches of ice, and then a play gets made. And then the next thing is you are looking for that play so hard that you come out of the shot idea. So you look at our power play, the first in Montreal, put 4 shots on the net. So we're trying to get back to, even if it's a shot from the top, take what's there, takes what's given, and get it simplified. So the power play, at the end of the day, the penalty kill is what we've struggled with here since Adam's been out of our lineup. Our penalty kill has been the last few games has been the deciding factor for us. We think the power play, it'll come and go a little bit, but it hasn't really gone, right? It's been pretty darn good all year. It's gotten a little slower. We're moving the puck a little slower. We've just changed back to a different look to try to spark that rate again. Just try to move it around a little bit differently. And then you'll get one to go, and then you get hot again, right? And at that time, you're usually, that power play is truly kind of lagging and leading. Like you start doing the right things on your power play long before pucks go in, and then you hit that right tempo.
Back to Scott Billeck from The Sun. Go ahead, Scott.
Thanks again, Gregor. Paul, I apologize in advance here. I'm taking you back to the 2009-10 season. I believe you lost 14 straight that year. And there's been a couple other seasons where I think it was 8 and 7 and that sort of thing. My question is the anatomy of a losing streak. Is it always different? Is it always different, or is there common threads that kind of weave themselves through each one?
that 9 and 10 season. I hope I blocked it out. We went to the conference final the year before, I believe, and then some players change. Usually there's something that does run through it. It's usually injuries. At some point, your team starts to drag, either you've got injury out of fatigue, you start to lose some pieces on your team. And then you've come in and when you've played well up to that losing streak, you got a very high standard of what your game's supposed to look like. So as soon as it starts to slip, actually, you're on it, right? You're on it hard. And what happens, I think, is the players, especially a conscientious group, we do have that, they tighten up and it's just kind of spun on us a little bit stronger. And we've got to find a way to relax a little bit, stay fast, get feeling good before you have what you feel is the right to feel good, because you've lost these games. I would tell you that what's different about this one is the scrutiny of it, right? I mean, it's going to be tough in Winnipeg no matter what if you win 6 games in a row, but in a regular season, and we talked about this at the start, the highs and lows of the season will be higher and lower than anything that you faced before, because you're not getting away from it, right? You're going from Canadian city to Canadian city, and you've lost 6 in a row. That's all you're talking about, right? You don't get that kind of mental reprieve. It's all people will be talking around the players who were in this COVID environment. So the extremes are just bigger this year. I truly believe that there is a potentially great benefit for this. There really is. Like, the focus on the group in the room, how they're moving together is right on. Like, they're not, you're always watching for 3-man meetings over in corners, right? The team's starting to split. The opposite is true. Like, we had a good one today and they were hooting on each other, and it was good. It was really good. So I know the group's tight and they're together. That's, I think, phase 1, we're all in this together. So let's get moving forward. I like what they did. I like where they're at right now. I mean, again, leading and lagging indicators, it'll all take a different turn on a win, but we got to get one.
Just a few more for Coach. Go back to Ken Weaver from Sportsnet. Go ahead, Weaver.
Paul, how did you land on who's playing center in that Dubois-Stastny combination, and what do you hope to see from them?
Pierre-Luc, we can do it a bunch of different ways. Would prefer not to play left wing. I can move Frenchie over to the left. I want to leave this kid at center. In 4 of his last 5 games, I've really liked what he did. The 6-1 Edmonton, there's not going to be anybody who's happy, but there's some growth in his game. He's more physical. He's in and on the puck. He's getting faster. He's starting to do some of the things that he's going to be able to do regularly as he gets older and more mature. So I don't want to move him out of there. I think Stas can play the wing, and I think it's a good spot for him. Matty Perreault, I think, is our best off playing his offside over there. We don't have a lot of guys that have experience playing the right wing. So I just don't want to mess him up. Like, he's 4 out of the 5 games. I think he's made a major improvement right now, and I want to keep that going.
And final question back to Jeff Hamilton for the Free Press. Go ahead, Jeff.
Hey, Paul, this last one on Adam Lowry. He obviously got his bell rung that last game. He's been out for 4 games now. He has a bit of a history with that. I'm curious, just given, each player must be different when they get back into the lineup, just given Adam Lowry's role with this team, obviously being a very important player, but also the style and game in which he plays. I'm just kind of curious on, bringing him back, what that strategy is, if it's the right amount of time. Obviously, you guys deem it will be if he does play, just given, everything I said with the style of his play and the nature of his injury.
So if you take just the hitting out of his game, he's still really, really valuable on face-offs, on the penalty kill, what he does. We wouldn't put him in the game and say, hey, don't hit as much, right? Like, he only goes back in that lineup when he's free and clear to get back in that lineup. And I can't speak to the other teams, but if you look at the players that have been out with anything, and he has never been diagnosed with a concussion, sometimes we're not even sure if these are more neck injuries that relate. So it's not, we take our time with these, and it's not because we're great guys. We know that if you put a player back in before, and there's no 100% guarantee anything, but you will eventually cost your player and your team more time. So it makes more sense to take more time, and we've done that. Like, we kept him in a gold jersey probably 2 days longer than he probably felt he needed to be, but we were going to wait and push him hard off ice and push him hard on the ice. And he did all the banging he needed to 2 days ago, stayed off the ice for more treatment yesterday, went full on in practice, says, I'm good. So when anything comes above the shoulders, fellas, I have absolutely no qualms if he goes into the game tomorrow night that he'll be thinking about anything else but the game.